whether or not, if they haven't gone after Hillary Clinton, why are they going after this president? And Donald Trump has repeatedly called the investigation into alleged Russian meddling during the presidential campaign a witch hunt, and basically by undermining the work of the FBI in these tweets and saying it needs to get better. That's something that his supporters will take to heart.
Laura Bicker there. Egypt's former Prime Minister Ahmed Shafiq has given a phone interview on television denying speculation that he was kidnapped. He went missing after arriving in Cairo at the weekend. Mr. Shafiq was deported from the United Arab Emirates to Egypt on Saturday, just days after he announced he intended to run for the presidency. His family raised the alarm when they couldn't contact him after he landed. Sahar Aziz is a law professor who was born in Egypt, now senior fellow for the Centre for Global Policy, joins us live from Boston. Sahar, good to see you. Just explain for us, take us back to basics. Why was he in self-imposed exile, and why were there these concerns when people couldn't get in contact with him specifically?
Well, as many of your viewers know, Ahmed Shafiq was the finalist in the 2012 presidential elections, and he barely lost to Mohamed Morsi, who was later ousted in a military coup in 2013 in July. So when he was no longer going to be the president, there were fears that he would be prosecuted along with all of the other former Mubarak regimes. And in fact, he did have charges against him. So he effectively fled the country to the UAE so that he wouldn't be subject to pre-trial detention, which was the fate of many of the former Mubarak regime officials, because he used to be the Minister of Aviation and he was also a former military general.
So do you think his announcing his intention to run for the presidency would have been unsettling for the current president, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, in the sense that would he be a real contender?
Yes, I think he is a serious contender for one reason, and that is in the last 6 years, there is a growing number of Egyptians who are starting to reminisce and have nostalgia for the Mubarak era. They feel that they're much poorer now. They're under much more economic hardship. They don't see democracy. They see more political repression rather than less. And many of the business elite, for example, would like to go back to doing big business with Mubarak officials. And we don't really know how the military feels about Sisi. I mean, from the outside, it looks like they're coherent and in agreement. But on the inside, there certainly will be a camp that was more aligned with the Mubarak regime, and Ahmed Shafiq is part of that camp. So there very well may be people in the military, in the security, in the business elite who have signaled or maybe explicitly told Shafiq, you should run because we will support you, and you may actually have a real shot at beating Sisi as his popularity wanes in light of the economic problems Egypt faces and in light of the security problems that Egypt is facing in the Sinai, as we saw with the massacre of over 300 Muslims at a mosque during Friday prayer.
So given that Ahmed Shafiq has given a phone interview on television denying speculation that he was kidnapped or spirited away, disappeared, it looks potentially like he may be able to fulfill his intention of running for the presidency. Does that mean any cause for concern has now gone away?
No, I think he's taking on a very dangerous endeavor. In Egypt, the stakes are high and it's hard to predict the future. And Sisi has the deep state at his, he's at the helm of it. So it's very possible that new charges could be filed against Ahmed Shafiq, criminal charges. And we already have 2 lawyers who have filed charges against him based on his Al Jazeera statement. And you also have another colonel, I think Ahmed Kosona, who said he would run or he wanted to run, and he's been jailed. So he's taking a high-risk path. However, I think he's betting on his allies in the Gulf, his allies in the West, and his allies within the deep state to protect him from the fate of a serious contender vis-a-vis Sisi. So it will be very interesting to see how this next election plays out, because I think Sisi certainly wants competition. He wants to